Hello and welcome back to Southern California, more specifically to Shady Sands. Throughout this multicultural settlement are a number of small details that we can discover, and now that I present to you 5 secrets you may have missed in Fallout 1's Shady Sands. Starting us off, we have an alternative dialogue from Katrina. What she says to the player is determined by your intelligence. After leaving Vault 13 and travelling east towards Vault 15, the player will likely find Shady Sands, where you can talk and trade with the local wildlife. Now, as simple as that may sound, having a minimum intelligence of 1 can make it nigh on impossible to achieve. Settlers can't understand you, and more often than not, would much prefer it if you just left them alone. Even Ian, a potential companion, wants nothing to do with you. However, there is still a local or two that will have a conversation with the brain-dead Vault Dweller, and Katrina is one of those locals. She will always give the player an explanation on the game's fundamentals, such as bartering and healing. She's essentially a walking tutorial who's determined to fulfill her role no matter what. But with an intelligence of 4 or less, Katrina's dialogue will change. She comments that the Vault Dweller is dim-witted, that she hopes we weren't exiled due to our intelligence, and wonders if the other dwellers from our vault are as intellectually challenged as we are. Usually you can exhaust her dialogue and nab 250 XP for doing so, but in this state you can't ask any questions. You're just too stupid. The only thing you can do is listen to what she has to say and try not to be offended. Don't let the idea of missing out on XP turn you away from a low intelligence playthrough. Some of the reactions are priceless, and it's definitely worth experiencing.
Have you found the chip? Oh, that's great. Can I have the chip, please? No, not that. I want the computer chip. No, the chip. Just give me the chip!
Shady Sands has several quests, both marked and unmarked, that the player can complete. One of those quests is to stop the Rad Scorpions harassing the town. Seth can tell you more, and can even take you to the Rad Scorpion's nest. As you slowly work your way through them, you can collect the Rad Scorpion Tales. Back in Shady Sands, Aradesh will tell the player that Raslo, the town's doctor, needs a sample to reverse engineer an antidote. So, the next logical thing to do is to take these tales to Raslo so he can make one. After he's done, you receive your very own antidote. It's a no-brainer as to what the player can do with this. Encounter one too many Rad Scorpions and gotten poisoned? No problem. But there's also another use for this particular item. Did you know that behind Raslo is a curtain that you can open? I'm serious. I didn't find this until my 3rd playthrough. Doing so reveals a sick man. This is Jarvis, Seth's younger brother. Selecting the antidote and using it on him can get you some easy XP and a little information about his brother. Now that we're talking about Seth, did you know that he's in love with Tandy? At some point, if the player leaves the town and returns after a couple of days have passed, the player will learn that Tandy, the leader's daughter, has been kidnapped by the Khans. Asking for help from the other locals will get you some free items. Aradesh will give you a spear, Raslo a piece of fruit and 2 stimpaks, and Seth will become hostile if you ask for a reward before offering to help. And there's a reason for his anger. He's in love with Tandy, but the feeling isn't mutual. We can learn this through several pieces of dialogue. As soon as Seth is spoken to, after Tandy has been taken, that is, he will refer to her as his girl, which he does take back after remembering she is in fact not his girl. And by using Tandy's Tell Me About feature and typing Seth, will result in her saying, "Seth is the captain of the guards. My father tried to set us up once, but he is not my type." Ouch. Apparently, people still have standards, even in the apocalypse. One of the first locations the player will go to in search of a water chip is Vault 15. The vault has long since been abandoned and will require you to use 2 ropes in order to climb down the elevator shafts to the lower levels. Now, there is a rope on the 2nd level, but you have to get down there first, which brings to question, where can you get a rope? Most players will have bartered with Aradesh back in Shady Sands, or looted the bookcase in one of the houses, but did you know that Shady Sands has not 2, but 3 ropes that you can find? To find this 3rd rope, you have to head over to the east side of town and into the little shack near the crops. Inside, and you really have to look to see it, is a rope beside the grain crusher. To some of you this may have been obvious, but I've read through several guides over the past 2 weeks, and only one of them pointed this out. The other guides might not have seen the point in wasting the player's time with something so minor, or they might not have known about it. The reason I think it's the latter is the guides also fail to point out the sledgehammer, which is also inside the shack and difficult to see, a very useful weapon for melee builds this early on. There are many cultural references throughout Fallout 1. Most can be found by simply walking past an NPC and seeing what they have to say, but there are some that require a little more work. Now, Fallout 1 has a unique feature that the other games in the series do not, and that's the Tell Me About feature. It requires a specific keyword to be entered before you get anything useful. Most of the time those words will be the name of a location or important character, but there's also a word or two that you wouldn't really think about typing that can also get a response. Inside the town is Ian. We can use the Tell Me About feature to ask him about the apocalypse, which nets us with a cultural reference. Ian's response to this is, "You know, we'll always have war, just the next one's gonna be fought with sticks." This is a similar quote to the mathematician and physicist Albert Einstein, who said, and I quote, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." This shows that the weapons that will be used in World War III will be so devastating that it sends humanity back to the Stone Age. I find it kind of ironic that Einstein said this, considering he's partly responsible for the Manhattan Project and the construction of the world's first atomic bomb, all because he feared the Germans were doing the same. I'm sure there's a lesson here, something about a nuke for a nuke makes the whole world a wasteland, or something along those lines. And there we have it, 5 secrets you may have missed in Fallout 1's Shady Sands. If you've learned something new, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I will see you in the next adventure.